video for you again. This one is focusing on collecting books and specialty book publishers, collectible book publishers. We want to kind of give you a brief overview of what your options are out there. Most of us that are into books eventually get interested in wanting to build a library, and then we get interested in wanting to have something a little better than crappy used paperbacks that are falling apart. Especially when they get old and yellow and the glue starts getting brittle and pages are falling out and it's your favorite book. That's a disaster. Yeah. Then you gotta try and find another one, and it's nice to have.
Hurts your soul to get rid of it.
Yeah,
it's like
and
losing an old friend.
It's nice to have a quality book that's going to last your whole lifetime, that you can read again and again and again and again, and it'll get worn, but it'll still hold together. Pages won't be falling out of it if you take reasonable care of it. So, not everybody is into this, but some of us, like me, like to have these nicer, more beautiful, better designed, better printed, better published, better quality, lasting editions in their library, and build a library that's going to last a lifetime.
And a huge plus too is that a lot of these specialty publishers do more than just make you a really nice quality book. They make you a beautiful book. Like, it's pretty. Usually they have extra stuff in it, like illustrations, it's leather bound, there's gold foiling. Like, they do a lot of very decorative things, but it also enhances the story. So it's something super collectible, super awesome to appreciate. It's not just a book, it's a work of art.
Yeah, and some of them will do some cool extra things, like a cool bookmark or a nice ribbon bookmark that's sewn into the book, or
like a slip cover.
Some of them will come with a print of from the illustrator as an extra, especially if you're doing something from Kickstarter. You'll get all these bonus things for the different levels, where you get other things with it to make it that much nicer of an experience. It makes the reading experience that much better.
Or like the certificate of authenticity.
Right.
That just makes me feel
signed.
like this is super awesome. I have a certificate to prove that this is a real deal book.
Right.
I love that.
So, I guess where you start is you're buying paperbacks or hardcovers that are mass market, they're current, and they're produced, and they're not terrible, but they're not the best. The binding can fall apart, the pages are not acid free, so they will get very yellow and brittle with time. Dust jackets will get ripped up real fast. Paperbacks, so if you put it in your gym bag, by the time you get to the gym, it's probably been shuffled around and now the cover's all bent over or something, and got a big crease in it.
They're all
just not good. So you take a step up from there. There's a number of ways you can go. The first way to go with classic books, of course, is to look for first or early editions. And that's the top one over there. No, next. Number 3. Door number 3.
The third pile.
Yes. This is not a first edition, but this is Love and Mr. Lewisham by H.G. Wells. It's an early edition. I think it's about 10 years after it was published. This edition was published in the United States. And it's got a beautiful embossed cover to it.
I love the colored pages.
It's got a die across the top of it, but not the other pages. Now you'll see with this, of course, it is still a mass market book. Back then they put a little more into their books than we do today, but it was still mass market, so pages are yellow. They're not acid free. So you got to be careful with this. And then you'll notice, like a lot of older books, they didn't trim the edge. So they have this ragged edge. That's actually pretty common, and some people love that.
A lot of modern books are getting that now. It actually is sometimes easier to find the next page instead of like having them all the same. So some people
Depends
really
on how
love
they're
that.
done. Sometimes
and there are some libraries that'll do that to their editions when they get them, if they're not done already. Because my brother used to work at Northwestern University's library during the summers, and they actually had a machine that roughed the edges of books that had those solid edges, because it was, a lot of people found it was easier to turn pages and find the next page because they weren't all exactly the same and sticking together.
Okay.
So like some people will do that manually.
Okay. I don't know. I'm
I'm finding
fine either
them
way.
people like, I like buying them that way too. I just like that ragged edge. It looks really antique and classy. I like
But
it.
when you go back to around 1900 through 1940, say, what was going on at the time is called the Golden Age of Illustration. And you had a lot of publishers that were doing special collectible editions of books, and they would hire people like Maxfield Parrish or Arthur Rackham or Howard Pyle to do illustrations throughout and make them very special books. Now this one is not one of those, but what you run into going back to antique books is some of them are cheap.
So we've had a cheesecake break. Because Greg's wife is
Because
awesome.
it's good. Yes, she is.
Man, it's cheesecake. You don't say no to cheesecake in the middle of a video. Alright.
So anyway, going back to early editions, antique editions, you're going to run into some that you can pick up very cheap. You're going to run into others, Great Gatsby, that's going to mortgage your house.
Yeah.
You simply forget about getting a first edition Great Gatsby unless you're Bill Gates, all right? It's just ridiculous.
It's just the way it is. But you could get people like one of the authors we've done, Myrtle Reed, has some really gorgeous antique books.
Yeah.
All of her editions were pretty.
I picked up one of hers for $20.
Yeah.
And it was in excellent shape.
I think I got one for $15 that I happened to find at a local antique store. Just $15 for this cute, really pretty book. All of her books are just Myrtle Reed was very, like, you could tell that her and her publisher were very particular about how her books were represented.
Yeah.
They were really, really gorgeous. Gold leafing, embossing, beautiful illustrations, great typography. Like, that's another antique book. You can get pretty reasonable. It's gorgeous on a library shelf. Her books are all, they have good ratings on Goodreads. They're pretty entertaining, cute, fun, cutesy stories. So you can get some really nice books.
And with H.G. Wells, now this, I didn't pay a lot for this one, Love and Mr. Lewisham, and this was only slightly cheaper than a first edition, but I just like the tooled cover here better than the first edition of that one. So some of H.G. Wells' first editions you can pick up cheap, but if you're looking for the Time Machine, the Invisible Man, War of the Worlds,
the super popular ones,
$20,000 to $50,000 in really good condition for first edition. So it's all over the place for price, depending on the book you're looking for.
And what a seller is looking to get out of it, honestly. I mean, the market is driven by what people are willing to pay.
Well, and there you'll get some people that think, oh, this is, everybody wants this book, I'm going to charge ridiculous price for it. But then you'll find somebody else that just doesn't really care that much, that's selling the same thing,
have,
same condition. Well, maybe they do, but they don't want to try to.
They don't want it. They're not in it for the money. They're
for
in
their
it
kids' college education with one book. So they don't gouge people, but you just got to shop around and look around until you find that right price of the right book for you. But you're going to have to put some time into doing that.
For sure.
So anyway, specialty books got started in the early, in the 1900s, in the golden age of illustration. And that was very popular. Now that kind of heavily illustrated book started to fall away around, I'd say between World War I and World War II, it started declining in popularity. But you did have some smaller publishers that picked it up and did specialty books after that, especially in the science fiction, fantasy, horror genre, where the writers were being published in pulp magazines and they weren't being published by the major book publishers. And so, like H.P. Lovecraft, after he died, he would have fallen into oblivion if it wasn't for August Derleth founding Arkham House in Sauk City, Wisconsin, to keep Lovecraft alive. And then he published a lot of other authors. So the next three on the stack. So Arkham House was committed to keeping H.P. Lovecraft in print.
I love that illustration.
The Dunwich Horror and Others,
I love
which
it.
was originally published around 1960. I bought my copy around 1981 and still had the original 1960 illustration on that. When they discovered that that August Derleth heavily edited H.P. Lovecraft's works, they restored and reprinted with all new covers. This is Dagon and Other Macabre Tales from a 1987 edition with the restored texts. And so this is an Arkham House book as well. And they published a lot of other authors, like this one's Carl Jacobi, who is kind of contemporary with Lovecraft back in Weird Tales in the early days of science fiction magazines. Some of these Arkham House books you can pick up pretty cheap. Others, like The Outsider and Others by H.P. Lovecraft, that was Arkham House's first book. That one's going to be Home Mortgage again.
Mm-hmm.
So they're kind of all over the board, but these are collectible books. They're very good. They're very nice books. They are in. This is an older Arkham House book from. What's the copyright on this? 1972, and the pages are not yellowing, so they put quality into
And they're
their
soft
books.
pages. You can just tell by looking at them. Those are smooth, soft pages. They're not that like pulpy, the pulp fiction kind of style books where they're that really textured page. That's a really high quality paper.
Right. So Arkham House was the first one to start doing that with the fantastic genres. By the late 1940s, Arkham House was picking up steam and science fiction was becoming popular, so other publishers appeared. So the next two...
These two?
Other publishers appeared on the scene to publish science fiction and fantasy books. This one here, no dust cover on it, it's The Incredible Planet by John W. Campbell, published by Fantasy Press.
I like the color.
A nice book.
It's pretty. It's a really
purple.
pretty color.
It's nice. This is a 1949 book of pulp fiction by John Campbell from the stuff that was published in the magazines in the 1930s. And at this time, you still couldn't go to, Random House or one of the big, Scribner's or a big publisher and get them to publish this stuff. So these small presses were appearing to put authors like that into print. Most of these small presses were run by fans of science fiction and fantasy. This is another one by Gnome Press, The Carnelian Cube by L. Sprague de Camp and Fletcher Pratt, who are noted for their collaborations on stories that are fantasy with a comedic twist to it.
I like that.
A humorous fantasy. An archaeologist uses an ancient talisman to search for utopia. Now this book was the very first publication of Gnome Press in 1947, I believe. (1948). This was their first book. And this is original. You can see yellowing pages. It's probably not acid-free, but it's still a nice bit of history to get. And
I kind of like the cover too. The typeface is interesting. The illustration, like they did some really interesting and cool stuff here.
yeah,
I like that.
It's very much contemporary books for its age.
Yep.
So then, other specialty publishers back then were publishing more the classics in literature and poetry. Publishers like the Folio Society got started in the 1940s, and they focused very heavily on British literature, Charles Dickens and Henry James and authors like that. The next book, this one is another specialty publisher from the 1940s, Sylvan Press. They published this edition of Baudelaire's poetry, Flowers of Evil, or Le Fleur de Mal in French.
So pretty.
But this is an English translation.
So
And yeah, you can see the dyed edge, top edge to the page, beautiful, beautiful gold foil cover design.
Fantastic condition.
Yeah, and
Fantastic condition.
Sylvan apparently published a whole series of these books, and they had illustrations inside. They were of poetry. You know, they did this kind of oversized
I love the big
format.
The big format. I like the stylization. Show them a stylization of one of the paragraphs too. It's like a banner.
Yeah, it was always easy to tell where the poem ended because they'd bring it down to a point.
It looks like a little flag.
Yeah, very interesting typography. Very, very clever.
And
very
lovely little
good
illustrations.
work.
Lovely illustrations.
So a lot of publishers popped up that were doing these kinds of specialty books for a specialty market. Most of them were available by subscription originally. You had to subscribe, and then you got sent these books regularly, and it cost you a lot of money for the day. Sylvan Press, the Folio Society in England, Heritage Press in America, they're still going, but you had publishers like Modern Library, Library of America, Everyman's Library, I believe is Britain. Other specialty publishers like the Franklin Mint.
Even like technically Reader's Digest.
Yeah,
a
they
specialty
did some.
Publisher.
But
they
theirs
did
were
more
less
annotated
expensive.
versions, yeah.
Yeah. So these specialty publishers got going, and like I say, they were only available to a select group of people. You generally had to subscribe to them. These days they're open to everybody. Folio Society, Easton Press, you can go on their website and buy whatever they sell. So, but you can also get specialty publications that are not so expensive, and that's where Goblin Market comes in. That's an example. Dover is a publisher that's been around a while, and what they do is mostly facsimiles of public domain classics, and they use acid-free paper. They don't usually do hardcover, they usually do soft cover, but they do a higher quality soft cover that does hold up over time. And they usually do beautifully illustrated books. This one has such wonderful end papers. And this one, of course, being Goblin Market, has all the Arthur Rackham illustrations in it. So it's a very beautiful book. And Dover does not cost you an arm and a leg. Some of these are, well, the hard covers are generally $15. The soft covers are selling for $5 to $8 online today, and they're wonderful books. And you know, if you want a book of Gustave Doré's Bible illustrations, I've got that at my other house. That's a Dover book. Has all of his illustrations that he did for the Bible. It's a beautiful book, and Gustave Doré is an incredible artist. So Dover does these wonderful books, high quality, acid-free paper. They're going to last a lifetime, and they don't charge a whole lot for them, so they're affordable. And the next one there, Le Morte d'Arthur, is one of them I've already mentioned. This is Modern Library. The Modern Library of the world's best books. They've been around, I think, since the 1930s. Publishing books like Mallory's Le Morte d'Arthur in nice hardcover books. You know, again, these are more aimed at a mass distribution, but they're still pretty well done. They're still good books.
And they look really nice on a shelf.
They do, and you know, beautifully designed covers, and excellent books. And then my Lord of the Rings is next. Yep. My copy of Lord of the Rings, this was actually published by Houghton Mifflin Company back in the 1980s. A collectible, but it didn't cost, I forget exactly what I paid for it, but I didn't, on today's standards, you know, this says collector's edition in it. On today's standards, it was cheap. I think I paid $30 for this, which is ridiculous today. You want a collector's edition of Lord of the Rings today, you're probably going to pay $200. But this one, again, really nice book, beautiful typography. I love the red type up at the top.
I love that book.
This is just an excellent book. It was well worth the little bit of money I invested to have.
I love that cover.
a well done, and again, this was by one of the big publishers, not by any specialty publisher. So
Still a
you
great
can
collector's
still,
edition.
so you can find some reasonably priced collectible editions.
It looks like it was forged by elves. You can just, it was beautiful.
And then, well, today, you know, that I bought at, I believe, B. Dalton way back in the 1980s. You know,
Rest in peace.
Doesn't exist anymore.
R.I.P.
Yeah. Next, I've got some that I've gotten from Barnes & Noble. This one just came out. If you go on Barnes & Noble's website or into their stores, you'll find some signed copies of current books. Now, this is just a mass market book, so published to mass market standards. I think it's pretty nicely designed, though,
It's a
and
signed
well
copy.
done. Yeah, but it is signed by Kazuo Ishiguro, who is, you know, the winner of the 2017 Nobel Prize for Literature, and this is his first novel since winning the prize. So definitely a collectible item, and that didn't cost a whole lot.
Yeah.
I think they sell the signed copies for $28. You know,
I like that
because
cover,
it's
too.
autographed, it's going to
And I
have
like
value.
how we're still paying homage to the old style way of doing books, where you've got this beautiful gold leaf
Mm-hmm.
here happening on the cover. You still have beautiful bright colors like books used to be mated. Like some of your antique books, they look kind of dingy now, but they used to be really brightly colored to look nice on a shelf.
Yeah.
And they're still paying homage to that and even modern design, which I super appreciate.
Mm-hmm.
The next one?
So then the next two, Barnes & Noble and some of the other bookstores like Borders, that is
Are
another
again,
one, rest in
R.I.P.
peace. They published their own editions of some of the classics, and not expensive. Both of these books are $25 at Barnes & Noble, but they are beautiful books, and a satin ribbon bookmark comes with it.
Got your
Beautiful design,
gold
you know,
edge.
foil, gold edges all the way around. Very nice, nicely typeset.
Nice large print too, so you have a large variety of readers who can read it.
Yeah, and beautiful end papers, just like a high quality book should be. But it's not. It's something that everybody can afford.
See this back illustration really quickly. I hope that it's in focus. Like,
Yeah,
look at that
I'll
thing.
I'll shoot stills
Oh,
to
so pretty.
superimpose. Yeah,
It's
it's awesome.
beautiful. I love those. And even this one, like with that blue, that's such a nice pop.
Yeah, the
I
cover
love
is
these
great on
illustrations.
there. I love it.
Again, so cool.
That touch of aqua is what sold me on that
Yeah.
edition
Let
of
me
the
see if I
Iliad
can get
and
it
the
to
Odyssey.
shine. You see that shine there? Look at that go. That is stunning. Absolutely stunning. Love that.
So then the next one,
This one?
I forget the name of the publisher that's doing this. They have a whole series of these annotated books. They're oversized
Library?
coffee
Or
books.
Live Right? Live Right? Live Right?
Is that who it is?
It's over there.
Oh, I can't read
Live
that
Right.
without my
It's
glasses.
tiny. It'll probably be on the inside.
It's got to say inside. This is the new annotated Lovecraft Beyond Arkham. And they got they have the annotated Alice, the annotated Wizard of Oz, A Christmas Carol, classic fairy
Whole
tales,
spiel.
Hunting of the Snark, Hans Christian Andersen, Secret Garden, Dracula,
book.
Frankenstein, Wind in the Willows, and it's Liver Right Publishing Corporation, a division of W.W. Norton. And beautiful books.
That is a gorgeous book.
Beautiful cover. It's got a dust cover on it, but inside nicely done also.
I like that.
And I like these because they go deep. They have all the stories, but they have a lot of information behind the stories that is just fascinating.
All
Little
super
details.
relevant little details. Just
And
great.
just brilliantly done books. And again, these are not gonna kill your budget to buy those. They're, I think that
I like
was
too, like-
$30.
They also have just phenomenal. You've got pictures and illustrations of relevant houses or like buildings in those types of areas, so you get a feel for where the story is taking place. They just do
Yeah.
so many additional things. Look at that beautiful border.
Yeah. It's a great book.
And then I love that in the margins, all of the annotations are in red, so you can really differentiate it from the thing. Not only do they have a nice margin there, like I love how they spaced and designed this book. This isn't just like, this isn't just a great book because it has all the extra little fun details and stuff in it. This is a great book because it is so well designed. This is how every annotated book should be. You should have good spacing between your margins of your annotations as well as the story. You should be able to differentiate. The hierarchy is phenomenal. Just with typography alone in this book. I love it. Plus I love that the cat's eyes, I don't know if you can see this on the front cover, the cat's eyes glow. I'm going to see if I can catch the light enough. Because they're also in foil, the gold foil.
Well, yeah.
I'm a sucker for gold on black too, so I guess that's more of a cool black, like a purple black, but it's so neat. It's phenomenal.
Okay, so the Gibson is the next one. Taking a step up from there, you can buy actual collectible editions. This one is William Gibson's Neuromancer.
It's easy to say necromancer because it's like that's where your brain goes if you're especially a D&D nerd like we are. So.
So this is Easton Press, and this is signed by William Gibson. And they have different levels of books. This one, these like this, I don't really love the covers.
I love it. I like it a lot.
They're okay, but I think they could, put that next to Myrtle Reed's book, and it just doesn't hold up.
I think the spine is almost better.
The spine is nice.
Especially if you're having this on a bookshelf, like next to other books. I have quite a few Easton Press books just because my mother-in-law gave me a bunch because she used to have a subscription to it or something that she won from something. Like, it was really cool. But I have a bunch of them. When you line these suckers up next to each other, you look like you have the most sophisticated library of any human on the planet. They are their spines are gorgeous. But I do like this cover. But it's kind of a cyberpunk look. So.
And Easton Press has been around for a while. Some of their older books, if you go looking used, are selling for anywhere from $300 to $800 per book. Because the older ones are not in print anymore. They only make just so many copies, and that's it. And that's what you're going to find in this collectible market, the specialty publishers that are doing these collectible books for collectors, is they only publish a certain number, they cut it off, and if you get it at the original publication from the publisher, the prices can be okay for something that's collectible.
I love that they
this comes with a certificate with his signature on it.
As well as, like, I think it's on the front cover here.
Yeah, it's signed inside there. So, you're getting a nice deal here, really, for the price if you're buying originally from Easton Press. But if you miss the original offering, prices can go way, way up on these books, looking for them.
Do you need me to grab a different one?
So the next one on that same pile, I think that's my Le Guin. Yeah, this is another Easton Press, signed by Le Guin, who's dead now, so now this goes up in value.
So
Beautiful, beautiful illustration.
This is just the box.
Yeah.
This isn't even the book.
This has a slipcase. Now this cost more than the William Gibson, and it shows it. It looks nicer than the William Gibson book.
Look at it shine, like the top of the Chrysler building. Look at that. And those beautiful gold pages. I love the gold pages too.
Yeah.
Like, the one thing that I have a hard time with at Easton Press is like opening and cracking the spines.
Oh.
I never want to. So I haven't read any of my Easton Press books because I'm afraid to crack the
Books
spine.
are meant to be read.
I know. But this one's illustrated by Vanessa Lemon.
Yeah, who is an amazing illustrator. I follow her on Facebook and even have commented on her work, and she's thanked me.
She's got gorgeous.
Pretty cool. She's a pretty cool person and does beautiful work.
Love it. And that beautiful satin. They all come with that beautiful satin ribbon.
Yeah.
The Domestication of a Hunch. That's such a great title for a chapter.
So that's Easton Press. Now there's plenty of others like it. The one I kind of prefer over Easton Press is actually the Folio Society that I mentioned earlier. They're based in Britain. I like their books better. They're maybe a little less traditional than Easton Press, but I think their illustrations and their covers are generally nicer.
Okay.
So I've got a number of Folio Societies sitting there.
These
If you
three?
can bring those up, yeah. Most of these I've just recently gotten. This is Songs of Innocence and Experience, which I wasn't expecting it to be this small.
It's a baby.
Because it's hard to see William Blake's illustrations in here, but at least they
really
put the
cute,
text
though.
alongside so you can read it.
That is very cool, though.
But this is a brilliant book, and I love how they did this. It's a very nice, very well done book, quality publication, quality materials, quality binding, very good books. This is a Folio Society, and they always come with slipcases. If you buy them on the used market, sometimes it won't have the slipcase, and this one is very tight in the slipcase. Sometimes you run into
It's settled
that.
in there.
And
Really,
I think it
just
might have to
nestled
do
in.
with their choice of the cover material. That's trying to grab on. But this is The Rime of the Ancient Mariner by Folio Society. Again, a very beautiful book. Just robin's egg blue end papers. Their books are blue pages.
That's cool.
Isn't it?
That's so
And
different.
beautiful woodcut illustrations all throughout. It's an awesome book.
I'm a sucker for a good
I chose
woodcut.
this over the Doré illustrated version from Dover because it's so nice.
I love that. I just love that different detail of having blue pages, though.
Mhm.
And it's not so distracting either. It's not so
Yeah.
blue that you can't read it because you can't see past the blue.
And that's
It's
what
so
I mean about Folio
tasteful.
Society is they don't make every book the same, and they don't make their books traditional.
They can see how this
They do
cover
some
does
very
its
creative,
weirdness.
very experimental things with them, but they still do it with high quality.
The
But
cloth
they'll
on
use-
here, this satin is like, it looks like a wood grain, but behaves kind of like a tiger's eye stone.
Yeah.
It like moves.
Mm-hmm.
That is too cool for
It's
school.
awesome. And then this one is by one of my favorite authors. I wish Folio would do more of his works. J.G. Ballard's Empire of the Sun, which is currently available from those other two. I had to buy it from the used market. This one is currently available from Folio if you go to their website. And this, of course, Steven Spielberg made the movie of Empire of the Sun based on this book. And again, given the full Folio Society treatment with beautiful illustrations, always different illustrators, and always done with great taste and imagination.
I love that cover
Beautiful
too.
books.
See, this is like the first one that we've seen that doesn't have gold on it.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice though. It's still wonderful.
Yeah, it's
Like,
a
the
beautiful,
color blocking is
beautifully designed
phenomenal.
cover. I
And
really
it's
like
not
it.
it's not a dust jacket either. It's actually
No,
like
they don't do dust jackets.
Yeah, it's actually a cloth cover.
Mm-hmm. They
with
do
this.
slip cases instead
Yeah, instead of the
of dust
That is
covers.
awesome. I don't want to take too much time. I gotta hand you your next books.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm getting distracted.
Oh, that's all right.
They're so pretty.
So the next two,
These
I
two.
think.
Come here, little buddies.
Yeah, these are both Centipede Press.
Oh man.
They're another small specialty publisher. They take mostly science fiction, fantasy, and
There's
horror
no
books.
title on the cover. except
No,
on
they
the
don't put
spine.
titles on the cover, only on the spine.
That is cool.
And they usually do very beautiful illustrations, and they usually choose books that nobody else would put in this kind of treatment.
These illustrations are bomb. Like, I hope they can see these. Like, and the texture of these covers.
Yeah, it kind of a rough texture to it.
I like it.
It's nice.
It's very nice.
Marbled end papers, actually just printed, but still cool. Illustrations inside, dyed edges to the top. You've got your ribbon bookmarks in it. You do have a dust cover.
this illustration. It's L. Ron Hubbard. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, that's just my first reaction
And
was that looks like L. Ron Hubbard.
An interesting emboss inside the dust cover, though. So many publishers just put the dust cover on and wimp out on the actual book. Good specialty publishers go deeper.
This one's got a really sweet illustrated.
Yeah, what she has a hold of there is A Case of Conscience by James Blish, which is part of a series. Now, James Blish has kind of fallen into obscurity. He's been dead since the 70s, and he was one of the great golden age science fiction writers. But he's been dead for a long time, and so nobody's paying much attention to his work. He didn't write a huge number of works, but what he wrote was really good. And so it's awesome that Centipede Press is bringing this book into a really nice collectible edition, because otherwise, paperbacks on the used market, not even new ones, is all you've got of James Blish's work. Okay, so this is Rockland Press. They have a small series of reimagined classics
I love this
where
letter.
they pull out all the stops. They go to their graphic designers, feed them drugs, and say, go nuts.
We're pretty sure that's what they do anyway, but we love the results.
Yeah, and they come up with some really cool books, like this one
side.
where it
I am the chief of sinners.
has, and again,
on the
black
back.
on the bottom.
Oh, that is
there's
so
just
cool.
so many cool little graphic design details here. Beautiful
nice.
end papers.
Oh, I need
Cool illustrations. They have a whole series of different classic books like
This is amazing.
by different people, and absolutely brilliant books.
That is too cool.
So here again, this is a collectible
look at this
edition.
one.
This is
Look
way
at
better
this
than your.
full spread illustration abstract thing. Love it. Ah.
This is way better than your average book, and this is something that you'll treasure your
This
whole
is an
life.
art book just as much
Yes.
as it is a piece of literature.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, the color blocking. The color blocking. Ah. Who is this again? What is
Rockland Books.
Rockland Books?
Yeah, they haven't done a whole lot of them yet.
So you mean I could just go buy the full collection?
Yeah,
Nice.
they're publishing more.
Sweet. Yeah, like, I don't know if you can even see on the side there. But then there's like this cool like splatter thing going on. The duality of the person of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde
Yeah.
is really portrayed well just in the design of this book.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that is phenomenal. I love the colors of the front too. You've got
Yeah, beautiful
really
colors.
beautiful color blocking. Oh my goodness, I can't get over that.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Tina Burning. Is that how you say it? Burning? Yeah. Burning?
Yeah.
My eyes are having a weird time because all the letters are different sizes.
Yeah.
They're handwritten, so they're different sizes, and I'm like, I'm reading that right, correct? No?
Yeah.
Yes? I don't know. That is a cool book. Wow.
It's amazing.
Love it. I love it.
And of course, at this point, I'm still, in fairly affordable range, like $100 per book. The next one also isn't the big one down there.
This guy.
This one, I'm floored. I'm amazed it's not more expensive, considering the other things in the collectible market.
This needs its own pedestal.
They make a box just for this book.
The whole thing.
To
That's a nice
ship
box.
it to, and it's shipped in a regular cardboard box, but they send you the book in this box.
And then
And-
it just gets better.
And the box is made so that the book doesn't slide around inside.
And it's got little details like cute little bugs there.
And
Great
here again,
illustration.
this company has it's Beehive Books.
And returns are only accepted in original.
Exactly. But you're not going to want to return it.
Nope.
This is a company called Beehive Books. They're making some really, really elaborate, beautiful books. This is just a slipcase. This is the book.
I love the die cuts on this.
Yeah.
Oh, that
This
is
this
cool.
one is the Island of Dr. Moreau. They have a bunch of other books, one of which they haven't printed it yet. They're taking pre-orders for The Great Gatsby, and it's supposed to come out in November. And that is being given a treatment like this book. Beautiful illustrations throughout, heavily illustrated, beautiful end papers, very dramatic, very
abstract, but you still see like the faces of animals in it and stuff, which goes, if you know the story of the Island of Dr. Moreau. Yeah.
So it fits the book perfectly.
It's beautiful.
And each of their books are done that way. They're each done very specifically to the material, and some full color, beautiful illustrations.
Oh my goodness.
Just
That
amazing
is
book.
stunning.
This is an amazing book, well worth the money that you spend on it.
That's stunning.
And they're constantly coming out with more.
And we also have some beautiful foil on here that's actually in like a
Yes.
purple gunmetal.
Embossed foil.
Embossed foil with die cuts. Look at that shine. It's a gorilla, in case you couldn't see. It's a
So
gorilla
sparing
face.
no expense.
Yes, that is absolutely beautiful.
And that is not terribly expensive. A couple $100.
I mean, that's still more affordable than some collectibles where you're
Yeah.
up in the 30,000s. And this is, people go 30,000 for a first edition when you could pay $200 to get something as beautiful and artistically done as this.
Exactly.
That's like what blows my mind.
Mm-hmm.
So that's gorgeous.
Or $400 for the signed Lagoon from Easton Press.
Yeah.
This is a bargain.
Yeah, for real.
Just lacks H.G. Wells' signature.
We gotta start looking for people who are gonna do the Dr. Seuss books. Oh, those are good. I literally saw some of those for like $200. Someone was selling one of the Sneetches and Peaches.
Yeah.
So I mean,
they're not going to be made anymore.
no,
so
they're a collector's item.
they're a collector's item, and people are going to pay the money. And that's the amazing thing, is that people are willing to pay huge amounts of money for some of these collectible books. Which brings me to the final two. If you want to grab those, if you can get to them.
They're only hard. They're not really heavy. They're hard for me to pick up because I have these long nails.
Yeah.
It's like, gotta get my fingers under there.
So this one is a Suntup book.
Ooh.
Which there are people who just sit and wait
Hey,
for
that sounds
Suntup.
like mine.
It literally does.
Do they speak to us?
I hope that doesn't mean she's a vampire,
I'm a
because I'm in
vampire.
trouble. But anyway, this is Suntup's
okay,
edition
just
of
live
I
forever.
Am Legend. I have some other Suntups on order, but they have a tendency to take about a year after you order them before you actually get the book.
That's a long
So,
ass time.
yeah,
That ship is out at sea for a while.
The second one that I ordered was 1984, last June, and I still don't have it.
Oh.
But feel the cover paper. High-end materials. Now this is the
This is like-
inexpensive artist gift edition.
This is like touching satin
Yeah. Beautiful paper.
or silk. Like, this is really soft.
It's beautiful paper.
Beautiful.
And that has the illustration from the original paperback release of I Am Legend.
It actually
on the
feels like
cover.
it's cotton infused paper.
Okay.
If you've ever felt Nina paper has like this cotton touch or soft touch paper, that's what it feels like.
Okay.
Very similar.
You're the paper expert.
I'm no expert, I assure you. Nina Paper is the paper expert. Not sponsored. I just love them. They have great paper.
So, the Suntup books, again, published in small quantities. The
Beautiful
artist
inside paper.
edition is their inexpensive edition. That's the one in my budget. They typically go for $150
See
right
an
now.
illustration.
And up from there, they have the numbered edition, the lettered edition. One of them typically sells for like $700 a copy, and then the other one usually only publish 25 copies, and they sell them for $2,000 a book. And they typically sell out. So people are buying this, and people are really looking for these kinds of books, high-end collectible books. There's a good market out there, and if you want to get into it, this is what you're going to face, is that when you start to get into these books, very, very well done, very, very high quality materials, high quality production.
Beautiful illustration.
Beautiful illustrations.
This one's really dark. I don't know that the camera's going to pick it up, but it is gorgeously done for monochromatic illustrations. Just trust me.
This is the ultimate. This kind of,
So soft.
excuse me, this kind of book is the ultimate.
There's a really great quote here I just read.
They're very collectible.
The whiskey gurgled into the glass. That is the most descriptive pouring of a drink I think I've ever read. I love that.
It's a classic.
It's beautiful.
So Suntop does, it seems they primarily do horror novels, although they have done some science fiction. Like I said, I'm waiting on 1984 to come.
It's kind of a dystopian one. Dystopian sci-fi.
So, you know, but they usually do horror novels. They just did The Exorcist.
Even like the outside of the dust jacket. That was a gorgeous color. That is beautiful. With that little...
So far, this is the only Suntop book that I've received.
Not the only one he's bought, just the only one he's received. So warning.
A bunch of others waiting.
We like their end result, but they
And
take a
then-
long ass time to get to you.
And then there's this one. It's, I believe they're in Eastern Europe. Amaranthine Press or something like that. They're fairly new. They haven't done very many books. I think they've only done 3. They started out with Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Then they did this one, Dracula. Now, they did a couple different editions. This is the cheap edition at $400. The nicer edition has an actual wood box.
Ooh, like a little coffin.
It's nice. But that'll set you back almost $900. And very, very high-end.
This is the one I was looking at the other day.
Yep. Very, very high-end books. A lot of really cool details.
I don't know.
There's
You can't
text
see it. But
there's text on the inside of the slipcase.
you can't see it probably on the camera, but damn, it's there. It says,
Slipcase,
"I crossed
of course, is
oceans
like
of
a
time
coffin.
to find you."
You get a stake bookmark
To stab your book with.
that says, "This should ensure that you and Dracula stay on the same page."
I love that. That looks
And
really
then
sturdy too.
To fit
That's
with the
some
coffin
chipboard right
theme,
there.
velvet cover. Feel that.
I have a book that is velvet. It is a collection of love poems. And
Okay.
it is a red velvet book. It's the only velvet book I ever knew to exist. And now I know of 2. Look at that.
Cool illustration on the cover, cool artwork inside. The edges of the pages are solid black.
Matte black. Not even a shiny black or anything.
Nope.
Like a really
Totally
ominous
fits
matte
with
black.
the book. It just is perfect.
Oh.
A lot of thought went into this book and a lot of time and hard work. So it, you know, you can understand why it's so expensive, but this isn't something
there are illustrations
everybody
inside.
can buy. Yeah.
There's an illustration inside. You can't tell because of the black pages. You
Yeah.
don't know where the illustrations are.
Well, and I love the end papers. It's just black end papers, but they have a spot varnish of bats. Awesome.
You can kind of
awesome
catch. I'm
end
trying to catch
papers.
it in some light here so that it. There we go. That it shines and you can kind of see.
So it's a whole flock of bats coming
Yeah,
at you.
that
It's
is
very
too
cool.
cool.
I love this book. It was
What?
well worth the money.
A beautiful edition.
So if you get into collectible books, this is what you've got in front of you, all your options. If you don't have a lot of money, you don't have to worry. You can get some nice books at Barnes & Noble or in the used book market. If you do have the money, though, you can step up to books like the Amaranthine or Suntop and pay a huge amount of money and have books that are just out of this world, that are just going to blow your mind and everybody else's.
So specialty publishers are great to have, but really what it comes down to is what you think is beautiful and meaningful to you, what that sits on your shelf.
Yeah.
So these are just some people you can reference later if you want to start building and more seriously collecting. But ultimately, if you think it's a pretty book, it's worth having on your shelf.
And the whole purpose of me getting these books right now and talking about this right now is because this is the sort of thing we want to do.
Yes.
We want to bring you books like this, except we don't want to charge $1,000 for them.
Yes.
We want high-end books that are a little more affordable. So we're kind of aiming more at the Folio Society kind of thing. And that's what that is our goal with Telltale, is to stop doing all these videos and start publishing.
Yes.
Beautiful
Not that we'll
editions.
fully give up on the videos altogether, but That's the goal, is to reduce that and actually give you products that you can enjoy from us to you.
Mhm.
So.
And my battery's flashing at me, so it's time for us to say goodbye for today.
Thanks for watching, guys. Comment some of your favorite publishers, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.